I'm curious how the whole Amazon acquisition went down. I mean, is that something you're open to talking about?
Sure, absolutely. Got a whole chapter in my book on it. So, first of all, people don't understand why that deal happened. They only, they just got some headlines and whatnot. We didn't want to sell out to Amazon, but we were being attacked. It's a longer story. First, we were harassed by the governments in California and New York about taking us down for mispricing some of our cut fruit. When you see that stuff in the stores, they're in the little plastic tubs, and those are done in the store, and they have what are called tear weights, because you got to, whatever the container is, you have to subtract that. And then that's, the people that are doing that, they occasionally make a mistake. They get the wrong tear weight in there. And so first California was went after the entire supermarket industry for mispricing.
Was Bezos behind this?
What's that?
Was Jeff behind?
No, this was back in California. And we settled with the state of California like every other supermarket chain did. But then an ambitious bureaucrat in the Department of Consumer Affairs in New York read about that. And then she launched an attack against Whole Foods. There's only one city in the United States that Whole Foods Market has the leading grocery share, New York. We have the leading grocer in New York. And they singled us out and attacked us. And then that because it's New York, it went national media. And the comedians like John Oliver said, it's not enough that there's whole paycheck, takes your whole paycheck. Now they're actually stealing from you. That went national, that went viral. And our same-store sales, our comps plummeted, and all around the country. And then within a year of that, we began to be attacked by Jana Partners, which was a shareholder activist firm. They wanted to take over our company and sell us to the highest bidder. And they were very unpleasant people. I tell you the story. They came in to Austin. We met with them. Wanted to know if we could work together. They owned 8.8% of the company. They wanted to partner to get the stock price up. They showed this PowerPoint. It had a bunch of mistakes in it. So I said, that PowerPoint's not accurate. Could you give me a copy of that? And they said, no, I'm not going to give you a copy of that. So why not? And he says, because we don't give a shit what you think. They said, look, here's how it's going to come down, Mackey. First, we're going to take over your board of directors. Next, we're going to fire you. Then we're going to fire anybody on your management team that doesn't do exactly what we tell them to do. Then we're going to put your company up for sale, and we're going to sell you to another supermarket company. And there's not an effing thing you can do about it. And they walked out of our offices.
Jeez.
And so then we were in the battle of our lives to try to stay independent. We went and looked at all our different options. We could fight them, but what we needed to do was drop our prices. And that was going to be hard to do when you have shareholder activists, because if you're selling something for $1 and you cut the price to 90 cents, the first thing that happens is your sales just drop 10%. And then your same-store sales drop, and then your profits drop. But when people and there's a lag period, and in a year or so after that, people realize, whole paycheck's not a whole paycheck any longer. Now, Whole Foods is more price competitive, but you need time to do that. We needed that time to do that. We couldn't do that with Jana owning a chunk of us. Then we saw, well, maybe we could find a friendly buyer like Warren Buffett. So we contacted Warren Buffett. He made a joke about it. He owns Dairy Queen. He says, I own Dairy Queen. I'm famous for my junk food eating. This is a bad brand fit for me. But I really think he just thought we were too expensive. We talked to some other supermarket companies like Albertsons, and that was a non-starter. So we couldn't figure out what the win-win-win solution was. And then one morning I woke up and I knew the answer, Amazon. I had met Jeff Bezos a year before at a Microsoft CEO Summit. He and I spent some time together. I really liked him. We talked about fantasy books, science fiction books, scuba diving. Very interesting guy. And he loved Whole Foods. He shopped there. His family shopped there. And he said, I'd like to get together and talk about Whole Foods sometime. I said, happy to do so. Just contact me. But he didn't. A year later, I contacted him to see if Amazon might be interested in buying us, because that would solve the shareholder activist problem. But I'd rather have stayed independent. I just didn't think that was going to be an option for us. I really thought the Jana Partners could take us over. if we didn't.
So had that not happened, you'd still be independent?
I think Jana would have fought us. We might have held them off for a year, but remember, we needed time to drop our prices to get our reputation was taken down by that Department of Consumer Affairs media attack on us in New York. So we had some challenges, and we needed some time to overcome them. But these guys weren't going to cooperate with us. Janet was obvious after that first meeting. They were doing everything they can. I could tell you other stories that I'm not going to tell you because I can't prove it. But I think there was the other option for us to go private, and I believe that I had Mike Milken courting me. They really wanted to take Whole Foods private, and I didn't want to take it private. I think that you're going to give control of your business to private equity guys. All they care about is money. It just wouldn't be the best strategy for our company. And they lever up your company. They borrow against your balance sheet. You get all this debt on your balance sheet. That way they don't have to put much of their own capital in. They put your capital in. And guess what? What happens if you have a 2008 downturn? You go bankrupt. The whole company, your whole thing that we'd built for years would just disappear. It was too risky to do that. Anyway, so Amazon was the best solution. The first thing I did when I talked to those executives at Amazon and Jeff was I said, we need to drop our prices. Can we do that if we merge with you? And they said, absolutely. And that's what they did. We cut our prices 4 times in the first 2 years. Cost Amazon hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. They raised the pay of every hourly employee at Whole Foods Market. Cost them hundreds of millions of dollars to do that too. They didn't challenge. Every one of our stakeholders won. It was a win-win-win. Everyone was better off. Culturally, Amazon and Whole Foods are not super compatible, but for the most part, they let Whole Foods be Whole Foods. It's much more centralized company, and Whole Foods is more centralized than it was. We don't have the same innovation levels because they cut overhead, they tightened it up, they did what they thought was best thing. But that's kind of how it happened, and if I could do it all over again, I'd probably make the same decision. But I will always wonder at the path not chosen, right? What if we'd fought? Could we have won and stayed independent? I'll never know. I just thought better than that than to be taken over by Albertsons or Safeway or Kroger. I just thought they're all unionized. I just think that would have been a bad thing for Whole Foods.